Realism. It causes the audience to become uneasy. Very long shots held for uncomfortable times. This technique must be used correctly or it can kill the pacing, or overall make one's film worse. Realism is used in order to convey certain emotions because of its uncomfortable elongations of shots and allows the audience to interpret whatever it is on the screen by themselves. These feelings could either be sadness, intensity, thrill, or happiness, and many more. We're going to be looking at two very different films. Gravity, the very recent release by director Alfonso Cuarón, and Les Invasions Barbare by Denis Arcand, released 2003. Gravity, a space thriller, looks to enthrall its viewers with terrifying views of open space and the realism it brings forth, while the Barbarian Invasions uses it in a different way. The usage comes through the same techniques, but convey different emotions.
GPS is down, it's down, I can't.
Give me a visual.
I told you nothing. I see nothing.
You have a visual?
Gravity lends itself to its great and seamless cinematography that uses the techniques of realism in order to survive. Though the film may not be all too realistic as many question the truth of the physics within the movie, it uses the techniques of realism to embed itself as one. For example, we have the drifting scene, and the drifting scene allows for a great example of Gravity's usage of the technique of realism. The edits are only done when necessary, and it seems as though there are no edits. It starts with a very drawn-out shot from the beginning of inside the helmet of Sandra Bullock's shot, in the head of Sandra Bullock's character, to the outside of the helmet in one fluid motion. No scene cuts. The shot lasts for more than 1 minute, and it builds a lot of emotion and fills the audience with a sense of uneasiness, as we're mostly focusing on the reactions of Sandra Bullock's character within that whole scene. It hits the fear of being lost in space and creates the sense of fear with the use of mise-en-scene and the background for this whole scene. The mise-en-scene fully engages the audience within the danger of being lost in space, which brings forth more the realism within this film. As we can see in this, on the still frame taken from the drifting scene, you can see a low oxygen sign showing percentage, in which they talk about in the whole film, and a warning sign, or it says warn, and probably means danger. The background shows the Earth and distant stars, further accentuating the helplessness of the character in space, as you can see the vastness of the space compared to how big Bullock is in space. Another example is the detached scene. It shows a stronger version of the use of realism within Gravity. This scene is about 1 minute and 30 seconds, making for a long scene. It utilizes the techniques used in the first scene that was seen, but intensifies its action and creates a very engaging scene with a fixed perspective and cinematography that follows the main actor. Again, for this shot, there are no scene edits for the most part, and it holds the shot very long and allows the audience to become engaged within the scene, as it doesn't change their perspective on anything, as they can look. They are allowed to make their own interpretations of the scene. Overall, the use of realism in Gravity builds the suspense needed in its kind of film. A space thriller that's supposed to have the audience at the edge of their seats for most of the film, and a film heavily relying on good acting and the realism techniques that it takes very well advantage of. On the other side of the spectrum, but on Earth this time, is The Barbarian Invasions by Denis Arcand. A drama based on a dying man and the visiting of old friends. It employs realism in order to convey stronger emotions within the film. It features realistic acting and uses techniques such as long shots and deep focus in order to convey such emotion. And just from the log line, one can see that it's very different from Gravity. It takes advantage of the same techniques to yield different results. This title sequence seems to be shot in one shot and walks the audience through a very busy hospital, giving exposition on the plot of the movie. It is shot with deep focus, allowing the focus to be on everything, allowing the audience to focus on what they see, allowing for different interpretations, such as seeing different kinds of patients walking by, maybe some Easter eggs within the film. The long walk finally ends, and it finally cuts to another shot of a dialogue between two women over one man.
Excusez-moi, je suis désolée. Ils ont tellement d'ennuis avec les ordinateurs.
As you can see in this scene, there are no shot reverse shots happening, as it's just a back and forth between the two women. The next scene is called Living in the Past, which is halfway through the movie. This next scene uses less cuts and allows for the connection between two characters. The use of realism here allows the audience to see the sincerity between the characters and their bonding.
Tout. Le vin, les livres, la musique, les femmes. Surtout les femmes. Leur odeur, leur bouche, la douceur de leur peau.
In the Barbarian Invasions, realism is used in order to convey certain emotions, to show relationships. The concept of realism is used to show actions and reactions of the characters without the need to highlight it. Contrary to Gravity, in which Gravity uses its realism approach to build suspense for the audience, keeping them on the edge of their seats. Realism in these two films are used in similar ways, but are meant to yield different results. The emotion meant to be conveyed and the use of realism is supposed to fit the film's aspects and allow for its more emotional, for the case of the Barbarian Invasions, or its more thrilling, for Gravity, parts to be accentuated by the uncomfortability presented by realism.
Tu sais, le premier homme dans la vie d'une fille, c'est son père. Pour moi, tu vas toujours